Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. You know, we're big friends and fans of CAOOY.org. That stands for the Coalition Against Over-Medicating Our Youth. Frank Granett, longtime contributor on The Price of Business, is the head of that organization. He's a pharmacist by profession and brings such great balance to understanding what's happening out there when it comes to the entire situation of mental health in our youth, and has now been bringing great stories for our ongoing series, both on the Price of Business show and at usdailyreview.com, of the price of ADHD business. Frank Granett, how are you, sir?
Hey, Kevin, I'm doing great. Great to be back on with you. And today we have an expert guest. And like always, Kevin, since we started our campaign, you know, we had so many professionals across the country come on, weigh in on the problem. And today we're going to focus on the effects of academic doping and addiction. So we have an addiction specialist. She's been doing this business for over 14 years. Comes to us, Kevin, from Milford, Michigan, and she's doing great things in Milford. And today I'd like to focus on, you know, there was a report, Kevin, I don't know if you're aware of this, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration in Washington, D.C. Now, this is a staggering statistic, and we're not going to belabor our listeners with all stats today, but, you know, they had a recent five-year period of over 270% increase in emergency room visits due to the abuse of ADHD stimulants. And this doesn't include the opiates and other drugs that are on the market and going through our, college campuses. So we have an expert guest, Kevin, and her name is Elizabeth Reeder. She's from Milford, Michigan. She is the director of Milford Counseling. So when you talk about mental health counseling and those people that are, you know, in dire straits with addiction, she is one of the best. She's internationally certified for alcohol and drug counselor abuse as well. And Elizabeth, thanks for coming on the program today.
Thanks so much for having me, Frank, and hi, Kevin.
Hey, good to talk to you. Make sure you speak nice and loud because you're a little soft here on our end, and you will not sound like you're yelling. What's the deal with so many of your guests are from Michigan? Is there a mental health problem out there? I'm from Michigan originally, so I could kind of, you probably could convince me that were the case. But it's funny, we get a lot of quality people out there in Michigan making a big difference. Real quickly, right from the very beginning, why don't you go ahead and tell us your website, Elizabeth?
Sure. Well, I have two, actually. Milford Counseling is www.milfordcounseling.com. And then we also have a nonprofit, which is www.radio, that's with an ERADEO.org, and that's our nonprofit, which is our educational and outreach program.
Awesome. Go right ahead there with your first question, Frank.
Yeah, Elizabeth, we talked earlier about let's talk about, before we get into your action plan and how you're helping people and making a difference in Michigan, especially in the Oakland County area. Explain the RADEO. When was that? You're actually a co-founder, and now you're the president, and it's an educational nonprofit organization. Briefly explain to our listeners how that's making an impact. What are you guys doing lately?
Oh, absolutely. Recently our two co-founders are part of the Oakland County Prescription Drug Task Force, and we have been going around anywhere in the Michigan areas to provide education to anyone that will have us. Basically, we've been doing education in the schools, and upcoming here in December, we're providing a comedy show that has to do with education on mental health and substance abuse that we're going to be bringing into the Oakland County Jail, Children's Village, Lake Orion High School, and Brighton Center for Recovery. And we're paying for that through some evening comedy events right around Christmas time so that we can provide some recovery relief and some good quality, sober leisure activities for people in the area. That is going to be a really good fundraising event, and also, some time to spend, in sober leisure activities as well. So we provide education to anyone that wants it on any area that surrounds substance abuse, use, or prevention. And anyone that asks us, we come out and do it at any time. So that's pretty much our objective.
Yeah, that's very good. And by the way, what county are you in? Just curious.
We're in Oakland County, but we provide education anywhere we're asked.
Yeah, I grew up in Ferndale, so that was in Oakland County too. So Yeah, we're not that far from you. In fact, I'm pretty sure. Talk a little bit about the the scope of you said it's not limited to just Oakland County. Whom you help. How far of a reach do you have?
Well, with radio, we'll go anywhere in Michigan. So we've helped out any county that has asked us to come. So we've been speaking in Livingston, Macomb, anywhere that has asked us to come out. So we're literally regional. So that means that we'll go anywhere in Michigan.
Very good. Go ahead there, Frank.
And Elizabeth, we talked earlier as well about the issues on college campuses. And for all the parents out there, our listeners, many of us out there have children that are going to college. And, recently in the news, we have pretty much unrest on many college campuses across the country. But explain to our listeners what to look out for when that, those behavioral changes that you might see or notice with, especially opiate addiction. If you sense there's opiate abuse going on, or stimulant or Adderall abuse, what can a parent look for?
Absolutely. Well, it's really key to catch it early. So if you go to the radio website, there's actually a click on that you can watch a little video that will go into a lot more detail about what to look for. So there's a key difference between looking for actual addiction and looking for abuse or misuse, because when someone's high or intoxicated, they're going to look one way, and when they get into the addiction, it's going to look completely different. So what I'll cover right now very quickly is just some key things to look for when somebody's intoxicated, because when they're intoxicated, we're already getting into the warning signs. So if somebody's academically doping, as you're putting it, they're using a stimulant to, get high off of, or to use it to get better grades in school. And that, by the way, is a misnomer. It does not actually provide better grades. The research has shown that when you use a placebo, in other words, when they're given something that they think is an Adderall pill, they'll do just as well on the test. So it's really the idea that they're taking the medication that they think will give them a better grade that will actually produce the same result, because really stimulants are not going to help you in the long run with getting better grades. But as far as a stimulant goes, a stimulant's going to make the pupils dilated, which means that the pupils are going to get larger. It's actually going to make the heart rate go up. So that's also going to make the person's heart rate accentuate. Their heart's going to beat faster. They're going to breathe faster. They're going to talk faster. And so they're going to be moving faster, and everything about them is going to be accentuated. So it's very similar to the effects of cocaine. There's not really very much difference between a stimulant. And in fact, in our DSM-5 that we're using now to diagnose, they don't differentiate very much between diagnosing a disorder that has to do with stimulants that are amphetamines or something like Adderall or cocaine, because they are so similar. If we're talking about something like opiates, those are depressants, and so what we are looking for are pinned pupils, so your pupils are very small. It's going to slow down the central nervous system, so the person is going to become sluggish, slower. Breathing is going to be slowed. And in particular with opiates, there is this scratching and itching component to it. It causes the person to feel like they're itching, and they need to scratch themselves incessantly. So that's something you definitely want to look out for. That's not a normal response, for somebody to have. So if somebody's got that sort of itching and scratching, along with those pinpoint pupils, you're definitely looking for something that might be an opiate.
Got to wrap it up with that point, but it's a very, very important conversation. People need to keep track of this. I'd like to give you the opportunity again, real quickly, Elizabeth. Give that website for the nonprofit.
The nonprofit is www.radio.org.
RADEO.org. Let's go ahead and stick with that, just because the listener gets confused with too many options. So, and of course, they'll see your name in there as well. And again, CAOOY.org. That's how you reach Frank Granett, and it's a great conversation. Thanks to both of you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work for both of you. When we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdatareview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter, and this is The Price of Business.